Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. It is so great to be back here with all of you, and I have been looking forward to doing this video with all of you. It's kind of another one of those where we're going to be comparing some numbers, but you know, I found it quite interesting when doing it. And as I was doing it, like I did the previous one where we compared numbers with gold, it kind of just reinforced in my mind why I am stacking the precious metals, silver and gold, and all. So before we jump into the topic at hand, I just want to invite all of you to hit that like and subscribe button. Really helps the channel out, means a lot to me, and it really helps keep me trying to make this content for all of you. And I really do enjoy and love seeing our stacking prepping family grow, because the more people that stack and prep, the more of us will make it through those hard times that are sure to come. So yeah, I've kind of decided on the new goal for the growth of the stacking prepping family, and I figured we would set it for around 270 subscribers. Since we're currently, last I checked, we're currently sitting at 169, but that could have changed by the time this video drops. But yeah, so let's jump right into the video today. And the topic we are discussing is, are we in a silent depression? Now, I don't know if you've heard that term, but that is kind of a term that's been starting to float around. Sorry guys, I am a little sick again. Something's going around. I know a lot of people who are sick. But I will not let that stop me from releasing content for all of you. So yeah, are we in a silent depression? That is, like I was saying, a term that has been starting to float around. People have kind of done what I've done, and they've compared the numbers. And it's just not adding up for what we're being told. So let's take a look at those numbers today, and we will, you can kind of think for yourself, decide for yourself is what I should be saying, on if we are in a silent depression or not. So the numbers we'll be comparing are the value of certain things, or how much people were making back in 1930, which was about the height of the Great Depression, I believe, and we will be comparing it to the numbers roughly today. I think some of these numbers are still from 2023, but it's still kind of early in 2024, so kind of close enough, I guess. So yeah, jumping straight into the rabbit hole here, we're going to be looking at the average annual income of people in 1930 compared to today. So, at the height of the Great Depression in 1930, the average income was about $4,800 annually, I believe. The dollar had a lot more strength. Even back then during the Depression, the dollar had a lot more strength than it currently does. So that was a lot of money for that time. But if we fast forward to today's money, accounting for inflation and all of that, that should be $85,000 a year. So to make what they were making back in at the height of the Great Depression, you need to be making about $85,000. I've heard as well it could be about $92,000, somewhere in there. But anywhere from 85 to 92, I'd say you'd have to be making that amount to be making what they were making back at the height of the Great Depression. Now, a lot of people, including myself, are not making that amount. They're actually making under that amount, which means we're a lot worse off than people were at the height of the Great Depression. I'd say that's that right there in my mind is I'd say is a pretty big enough piece of evidence that we are in a silent depression. Oh, also, if you've noticed, I finally got some capsules for my bars. Just thought I'd point that out. So they won't be milk spotting, hopefully. But yeah, moving on. If you're not convinced yet, excuse me. Here are some more numbers for you. This is concerning Social Security. The average person on Social Security today makes typically about $1,700 a month, or that's $20,400 a year roughly. And if we take a look at, with inflation of the dollar and all of that, based from 1930, they should really be also making that $85,000 a year on Social Security, but they're not. They're making well below the poverty line in Social Security. So kind of like what I mentioned back in my last video, talking about has gold kept up with inflation, which it's outperformed, by the way, but people just it's unsustainable with inflation and prices. You can't live off of Social Security anymore. I mean, just like with the FCIC insurance, Social Security isn't there. They spend it the minute, the money we're putting into Social Security, the government is spending almost immediately. They project, I don't even know the number, but they project that at some point in time it's going to run out. So we need to build our own Social Security. And I think you know where I'm getting with that, but we'll touch basis on that at the end of looking at all of these numbers. Next up in our number chopping block is gas. Now, I remember when gas was cheap, but not this cheap. Back in 1930, gas was, I believe, 10 cents a gallon. 10 cents. Whew. I wish we could pay 10 cents for our gas here. But again, just looking at inflation, after inflation, gas should only cost us $1.73 roughly. Give or take several cents, I guess, but it should be that, or around there. But we know that's not the case, because on average, the national average for gas is $3.85, which, pans out. It's basically sitting right there out where I live. But that's not even the most priciest gas. And that's basically double of what it should be, or a little over double from what it should be. In a more pricier place like California, gas is upwards of around $5.79 a gallon. And that doesn't include the things that price affects, like food and other commodities that we buy, because it has to be shipped. So, silent depression, it's kind of right there, Inflation's out of control. The dollar is worthless, and it continues to get worthless. And if things keep going, we keep printing money, and other nations start switching over to buying oil in other currencies, it's going to get even worse. But if you're still not, excuse me. Again, sorry guys, but I always film live. I like to be candid with all of you. But now let's take a look at, if you're still not convinced, let's take a look at the thing that you put the gas into, the car. In 1930, I wish it was still these prices, guys. 1930, you could buy a car from anywhere from $400 to $800 for a new car. Today, we should be paying for a new car around $15,000 for after inflation. But again, that's not the case. You know, the greedy corporations need their money. So we pay on average about $48,000 for a new car, which would put monthly payments around $733 roughly. I mean, it's not just inflation that is, having their way with us. It's the corporations that upcharge everything 1,000%. And, something happens where they have to raise prices a bit. Prices never go back down. They never do. Because they realize we're willing to pay for it. And lastly, if you're still not convinced after all of that we are in a silent depression and that it's way worse than the Great Depression, let's look at the American dream. And we kind of looked at this in the last video when we were talking about gold keeping up with inflation, silver and gold keeping up with inflation. In 1930, a home was roughly around $3,900 to about $4,200 roughly for a home. Today, that should only cost us about $70,000, I believe, if we just go off of inflation. But like with the car, can you buy a house for $70,000? Not a very good one. It's gonna be a fixer-upper, as they call it. Lots of work to be done. Today, the average home costs around $480,000 at the end of 2023, and I believe I saw the current number for this, and now in 2024, the average home costs roughly just over $500,000. And that's on top of that doesn't include, that doesn't include not inflation, interest rates of around 8% right now. Last I checked, I haven't seen or heard if interest rates have gone down, but right now I know that it's floating around 8%, which is a 22-year high on houses. Here on paper, that's just my notes. I don't remember everything here. So I really hope that those numbers have helped you kind of understand the situation that we are currently in this country. I truly believe we are in a depression, or silent depression, since the government and the media aren't using the term depression. That's why we've coined the phrase silent. But I truly believe we are in a depression. So, what can we do? What can we do to continue to help prepare ourselves to get through it? I mean, since our representatives aren't going to do anything to fix it, that's kind of the big question. What could we do? Well, thinking on it, and this is just my point of view, leave your comments down below on what you guys think, but I would highly recommend starting to change or exchange your fiat currency into real money, which is obviously gold and silver. Not financial advice. Obviously consult a financial advisor. But even again, don't, as I've said many times before, excuse me, don't dump everything you have into gold and silver. Unfortunately, you still need to use the almighty dollar for buying and selling. Uncle Sam still recognizes the almighty dollar as the currency or mode of exchange. But start changing and exchanging some of your fiat currency into things like precious metals, because they have kept up with or outperformed inflation. And that was my dog in the background joking on something. And I mean, if you're not super comfortable with gold and silver, or you don't think that that's going anywhere, there's other things you can do with your money. I mean, you got people fleeing into cryptocurrencies. I'm a little bit more skeptical of those, just because it's not a physical asset. Obviously, there's other assets. Some people are investing in real estate, but that's a little harder to do and getting harder and harder to do. You obviously, to help alleviate some of the costs of inflation, if you don't want to do either of those things, I mean, I would suggest doing one of those things with your money, but also doing everything you can to become as self-sufficient as possible. And that means doing things like trying to grow your own food, raise your own animals for meat or for eggs, and start eliminating the cost of having to buy things from the grocery store. Now, I'm not expecting all of us to be self-sufficient overnight. There's no way. I am nowhere near it. There's plenty of other people I follow that are only, 50% self-sufficient or less. I think the highest one that I watched once, they considered themselves 85% self-sufficient. And they were living off the grid. So that just goes to show how hard it is to become completely self-sufficient. And that's where building a community of stacking preppers comes into play, because that way you don't have to produce everything yourself. You can have, split the load between a community. That would be a way to do it. So yeah, I think I will end this here. I'm starting to ramble, and we're going on 20 minutes. I know it's a bit of a longer video, but if you've made it this far, guys, thank you so much. It really means a lot. It really does. I guess if you've made it this far, just so I know that you've made it this far, leave a comment down below that says chicken, I guess. That way I know you've made it through to the end. But, if not, that's fine. But, yeah. Once again, I'd like to invite you to hit the subscribe button help us reach our goal of that 270 subscribers. And hit the like button. Help us beat that YouTube algorithm. Not 100% sure how it works, I just know that that helps. And then, yeah, if you want to get notified of new videos dropping, hit the bell notification. But thank you once again for making it this far, and I will see you all in the next video. Keep stacking, keep prepping, stay frosty.